think that the Bank of England has got its maths right on the likely depth of a recession? It has consistently argued, as it's increased rates, that we're going to have a very profound slowdown in the UK. And yet, so far, the UK appears to have defied some of that pessimism.
Sure, if we take, for example, the monthly GDP measure that is published by the ONS, it actually suggests quite a solid start into Q4. But this comes after very weak September numbers. Of course, there were some special effects due to the Queen's funeral, for instance, in September. So the September number was extremely bad. And the October number shows some quite strong recovery after this big drop at the end of Q3. So overall, it's a quite hawkish message suggesting that the recession will be less deep than many think, including the Bank of England.
What are we to make of the difference in view that we're getting from the market and from the central bankers at this point about likely terminal rates and the degree to which inflation is going to be stubbornly around running through 23 and into 24? I mean, interesting to note the ONS this morning coming out and commenting on the fact that the market is, in a sense, reducing its bets on the peak bank rate to 4.25 from 4.26. And if you look at the reaction in the 10-year gilt yield, we've seen a new session low after this decision. So it does feel as though the markets are trying to see what they want to see in this, which is perhaps a faster reduction in the pace of hiking than the central banks are inclined to suggest in the commentary.
Sure, that's certainly what came out yesterday from the Fed meeting. One certainly surprising thing, at least to me, is the fact that the Fed and Powell clearly signal that they want to do more. They will hike rates further early next year. And the market basically doesn't believe that. The market thinks that interest rate cuts are forthcoming next year. Now, that's in the US. In the UK, we looked quite closely at this recent speech by NBC member Broadbent, who showed quite an interesting chart suggesting which basically showed that market forecasts for UK interest rates and the bank's forecast for interest rates. There was a big gap, and that's quite an explicit message from a Bank of England member suggesting that be aware, we are not going, or we are unlikely to hike rates by as much as you think. Now, since then, the terminal rate for the UK or for the Bank of England has come down to about 4.75%, and we would certainly side with that the Bank of England is unlikely to be as aggressive as expected by many.